Hello and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specific to the wedding industry. On this show, I discuss tips to help you DIY your social media, as well as getting the confidence and income to outsource it. Thank you for allowing this episode to come through on your Bluetooth, your car radio, wherever it may be you're listening from today. Now, let's take your wedding business to the next level. Hey guys, and welcome back to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. We have a really exciting episode because Carissa Kruse is back, and she is the master of content marketing for wedding professionals. And what she really wanted to talk about, which I thought was a great topic, was the content marketing you're not thinking about. So, you know me, I'm heavy on social media. Carissa has a lot of other elements that she incorporates into her own content marketing and the content marketing that she teaches in her Facebook group and in her programs. So I'm kind of just getting started right away because there is so much that we're going to cover in this chat together with Carissa. I will say this is an episode where you're going to want to check out the show notes because Carissa is hosting a free challenge, a content marketing makeover free 3-day challenge where she's going to be giving you 3 daily steps and prompts to take that's going to help to boost your bookings in 2024. So you're going to want to sign that up for that and check that out below. But let's just get right into this interview. Carissa will give you her background right from the start. Some of you guys may already know her. But what I will tell you about Carissa is that she not only has the experience as a wedding photography business owner, photo booth, she did invitations too, but now she's applied that with her marketing background. And that's why a lot of wedding professionals can really resonate with what she's saying because she's actively talking to brides, grooms, couples, and also marketing her own business while teaching you how to do yours. So it's a home run. So, like I said, all the links to follow Carissa are going to be in the show notes. And now let's go to the interview. All right, guys, we are back with Carissa. Carissa, you were one of my first guests way back in the day on the podcast.
I
Do you
love it.
remember that one?
Yes, I do. I'm super excited to be back and chat with you. Yeah.
And in that, long ago, we alluded to coming back again. And now
Right?
it is finally here. So,
Right?
some of you may already be familiar with Carissa, especially because she has the background of being a wedding professional and also has her marketing experience. And that's really where she's been taking over the industry is with her great content marketing. But would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself as we get into all your content gems?
Yes. Yeah. So, as you said, I actually started out sales marketing is my background, but I ended up building a wedding business along the way. So, I've had that for about 10 years. We offer currently photography, videography, photo booth, DJ services. We did offer invitations as well, until COVID hit. And my passion really lies in sales and marketing and helping others. And so that's where I love to share sales strategy, um, and kind of just marketing. Like it's all those pieces that a lot of times as a business owner, you don't know what to do from the marketing side. And it's just kind of become so vast over the especially last 5 years, like that you have to be in a lot of places, unfortunately, with your marketing. It just one tactic doesn't work anymore. And so that's really where I'm wanting to help and bring more resources and more information out into the wedding world, for all of those wedding pros. And really, there's three things that I really help with. It's content, funnels, and strategy. And so those are kind of my three core places where I really help, and those all kind of bring your whole marketing together because you have to have a strategy in place in order, and then you have to implement that strategy. And then content's a big piece of that, and funnels are a big piece of that. So that's kind of, yeah, that's kind of what I found and what I've developed and utilized in my own wedding business so that I can make sure that everything, what works, what doesn't. I've done a lot of trial and error over the years. So I can give a lot of knowledge that way to know like, hey, that's going to work or that's not. So
And I get to see it firsthand in your Facebook group that you really lead people in with the idea of getting content, but then once they start going, it's like they see all the other places they can use it, and then they realize, well, now I got to work on my funnel because people are inquiring, and then it's like, well, now I want to work on my emails because I have this structure going. So it really seamlessly leads together. What would you say is the number one place wedding professionals are overlooking for content outside of social media?
yeah, so a lot of times people think when they hear the word content that it's just social media posts, Facebook, Instagram, maybe TikTok falls under that category. But really, there's some other content pieces that fall under that, yeah, people aren't really taking into account, and that's going to be emails. So email marketing, and email marketing does work for the wedding industry. For years it wasn't really needed because couples were booking pretty quickly, so you didn't need like an actual email funnel or emails follow up after a couple of weeks. But so that's really important. And then short form video, which is going to be like your reels, your TikTok videos, those types of things are super important nowadays. And then blogging and pinning, that's going to help with your SEO and help gain that reach. And those are great because they're kind of anchors, for your business that can help you years down the road. And that's kind of one of the things, each of the content pillars that I kind of mentioned there, each have their own unique uh, reason or purpose in your strategy. So, with your social media, your Instagram, Facebook, those are going to be more on demand because, those only last maybe a couple days, so you have to kind of keep producing that content. Emails are going to be more of that nurturing, that warm, hey, here's they've already kind of seen you, they've opted maybe for your lead magnet or asked for additional information, so those are kind of your warm, so that has a different purpose. And then your short form video has a different purpose as well, because you might it's a way to maybe stop and get them intrigued. You can share more about you, your business, different aspects that you can't with just a single post. And then the blogging and pinning, like I said, too, helps keep you, those can help you from years down the road. Like, so they all have their own purpose. And that's where I think we kind of think, oh, we just need one because, I just want to do this. But really, they all have their own purpose and they all fit together into your strategy.
Now, you mentioned how some wedding pros have mentioned, thinking, well, I don't need an email sequence, or people inquire, and then if I don't hear from them, it's because they're booked. So let's pretend I'm a wedding pro who tells you no. My clients would not respond to emails. Prove me wrong. What should be something they should try or implement to realize that emails are a good content strategy?
So yeah, so it used to be, people got, when email first came out, it was super popular, and then it kind of got oversaturated, I think, and then kind of, wasn't really used much. And now it's kind of come back into the world. And so email marketing is a way that you can stay in touch with those, what I call them, like those long-term leads. So those leads that aren't really ready to book you right now, a lot of times, because I'm always one that doesn't want to come off pushy, slimy, sleazy, salesy, right? Like that's my whole thing. Like I'm authentic. I want that to showcase through. So I'm not going to be following up. If they're not interested after a couple of weeks, that's fine. Like I get it. Like they might have things going on in their life that they need to make additional, take a little time away, like whatever it is. So, but I don't want to keep following up and be like, hey, are you ready to book my services? Hey, so these emails aren't just emailing like, hey, are you, ready to book my services? You're going to actually email something of value, a tip, a recent wedding you did, something that just showcases and gives them some information that helps them in their, in their planning, or that leads back to the service that you provide. The options are limitless with it. And so that's where you can have fun with them, because you're then now just nurturing them and just saying, hey, and you're just kind of dropping that nugget like, hey, I'm still here. Just, hey, if you're still looking, I'm still here. Don't forget about me. That's really what we're trying to do with the emails. And that's why it becomes kind of a longer term strategy. And that's why people don't necessarily want to implement it, because they always want to focus on those quick wins, right? Yes, we'd love to book them straight out, like, and be like, hey, I booked them right away, same day, next day, whatever it is. But I would say there's a whole segment of people that you're missing out on. And email is one of my favorite because it's easily implementable. And you're able to, you can, so the strategy I really recommend for that is sending an email every 2 weeks. And so that every week is too much. I found every once a month is not enough. So if we send it every 2 weeks, then we can be able to kind of just stay in touch, and they just know we're still here. And then it doesn't take a lot of time out of your business, your day either, to draft up those couple of emails and schedule them. And so most of the time you can get that done within like 30 minutes in a month. And when I started implementing that strategy, we actually booked an additional 8 weddings in a 6-month period. And those weddings were between 2 months and 6 months from their inquiry date. So if I would have just said, hey, they didn't book within those first 2 weeks, or maybe even that month, I would have lost them, because they would have just forgot about me and then redone and probably a new search and then but the fun thing about it is if you do this strategy with email, you're wading through that. You're standing at the top, right? So they already did a lot of research. And so all of those other, if they reached out to 5, 6, different people, you're at the top now, and they don't want to go through all that searching again. They're going to go right back to you first and go, hey, do you still have my data available? Hey, can I work with you? And then it becomes an easy booking for you.
That was like a wow number, like 8 in 6 months. Because I'm thinking about promises I make on Instagram, and it's more
Mhm.
like, 1 to 2 a month. So you getting 8 in 6 months through email, that is certainly worth spending some time on.
Yeah, well, and what it is, you've already done the hard work to get that traffic and those eyeballs on your business. You did the hard work to get them in the door. You did the hard work to give them your contact information, right? So you did all that hard work. And then we get to this where we can then just implement this, I call it super simple strategy, because it's not real difficult, right? And we can implement that and capitalize. So that's a lot of times, it's almost like, if you've heard the word, and I know you have, but word retargeting, it's almost like you're retargeting, if you want to look at it that way, those leads that came in in the door, you're retargeting them through your emails. So it's kind of like so maybe if you look at it that, if you're, I'm a, visual person, so I like to kind of put different things to get it to kind of click. So if you look at it that way, like, hey, I'm going to just keep retargeting these people just with my emails, though I'm not having to, do paid ads or something like that. Like, that's kind of how it works, is because people have to, there's a stat I've seen recently, and so I've been using it, that it takes about 18 touch points or 18 interactions with your business before they may book you. Yeah, you might have some that take less than that, some that take more, but on average it's 18. And so that's a lot. Like, and that could be from your emails, your social media, your you know, short form videos, blog, like website, like that's all across all all those platforms. But that email then just gives you that extra kind of edge, to then go in and book them.
Yeah, and I also imagine any content method or platform alone, 18 times is too much, So by
Mhm.
spreading it across these multiple different platforms and methods, you can then really have kind of more of like a true 18. What I
Mhm.
want to ask is, where can wedding pros find topics for these 2 emails a month?
Yeah, so I do have I have my Weddingpreneurs Content Club, which we actually, in there we provide over 150 pieces of content every month, and I'm sure you'll drop a link in the
Yes,
show notes or
big
whatever
fan of the
too. But
club.
yes, yes. And so, but we do include 2 emails every month in there. And so we do just different topics, different things that work for all businesses. Because that's one of the things too. I say showcase yourself as an expert. You can talk about anything really in the wedding industry and weave it back to the service you provide. So we've done like signature drinks, we've done about wedding expos, we've done like just kind of all different random different topics that are all important to couples as they're planning. And then there's a couple Mad Lib type sections that you fill in for the services you provide, so that it weaves back. So you are saying, like, hey, if you're still looking for a DJ, photographer, officiant, venue, whatever it is that you do, hey, I'm here, do a book a call, or learn more, stop by my website, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and you can then give that call to action still, so that they know, like, hey, here's what I do, and I'm wanting to work with you, but hope you enjoyed this email, kind of thing. In the meantime.
Yeah, and what I also love about this is when couples initially inquire, sometimes you get on like an inquiry high and you're
Mhm.
just sending, they're copy and pasting and sending to everybody and then they get kind of burnt out when all the responses come in. And
Mhm.
how many people are just slamming them in the beginning and maybe not playing at that long game of just a subtle check-in every 2 weeks, or not everybody is making that rush decision, and just because they didn't doesn't mean it's over.
Yep.
And also, I always just like to think, reminding people that you exist. They may have already booked someone, but now look, if they're a bride, chances are they have friends who are brides too,
Mhm.
and keep
Yep.
it in their mind and in the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, you're spot on with what you just said.
Now, I wanted to ask, I thought it was great that you brought up blogs and pinning together. So, can you explain for those listening why those two go together so well?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that so in the Weddingpreneurs Content Club, I help you build out your strategy. And so the concept is we build one content pillar and then we get consistent with that. Then we add the next content pillar. Because if you try to just go, hey, I'm going to do all these things right now, it's going to get overwhelming and you're going to be like, ah. So that's where we kind of strategically stack them. And blogging and pinning I've put together because you can get more exposure with your blogs, right? So we do include a couple blogs within the content club as well, that you can swipe. I'm always like, hey, make them your own so that they're SEO worthy and like you get the love from them. But then what the pinning does, so that helps you with some of your search engine optimization stuff, your SEO, blogs do. But then there's that other piece where you can go and create pins on Pinterest on that topic and lead them back to your blog, which is just another way to kind of repurpose those blogs. And so we talk about a lot of times repurposing content and reusing it. And so that's kind of the way that another way you can use your blog is to repurpose it and use it as a pin on Pinterest. And we all know that couples and brides are on Pinterest searching, all of that kind of stuff. So if we can get some extra traction with the efforts that we've put in, it's kind of a no-brainer. And so that's why, and that the one thing I love about Pinterest is you can do, you do your pin, you don't need to do a lot like in the text. It's more of like, hey, here's a quick thing. Now go check out my blog. And we're directing them, to your blog, to check out that article. So that's why I put those together, because those kind of go hand in hand from a strategy standpoint.
Yes, I love that. I've been having a lot of fun with Pinterest, but in order to repurpose what I'm doing, which me, I'm heavy on social media. So let's
Mhm.
say I have a popular reel or TikTok and I want to repurpose it for Pinterest. Well, I have to have a relevant place for that link to go. So then
Mhm.
I think, well, what blog post could I create that's going to offer value for people who are clicking this pin? So
Yep.
I'm wondering if you have any other repurposing tips like that of where people should start, or maybe what pieces or platforms for content repurpose with one another well. So whenever I give
Yeah.
you a question, it has like several parts to it.
Nope, you're good. I gotcha. So yeah, you can really kind of take and mix and match and find a way, like you did, find a way to repurpose it. And you can get creative with that. So yeah, if you've got a reel that took off, or a TikTok short form video that took off or something, what is that topic? What made that exciting, and what do you think, was the reason for that? And then yeah, maybe write a blog post for it, attach that to it. Um, And then you could do the pin, that then goes to it. And then you could even from your emails, you might have a topic, that from a reel that went really well. You can actually within your email do a little email about it and then link to that Instagram reel or that TikTok video or whatever that was that got some traction. That's kind of another way. And then that gets them to your Instagram page or your TikTok, and then you can ask them to follow you, or maybe they'll follow you. So it just kind of, you can weave in different pieces of into different things. So just always think like, how can I, when I create one piece of content, I always think, how can I reuse this at least one other way? So it's because I don't necessarily need to do it like across everything, right? But you've already taken the time to do it. So is there a way that I can take this one step, and just kind of repurpose it? And you can do that a lot of times with social media posts, repurpose it to a story, right? So then you've got like a story post as well. But if yeah, so there's really the options are limitless, really. It's just kind of finding unique ways to kind of sprinkle them in. And you can always repurpose old stuff too. So go back and look at your analytics, look at what's worked. And I think Instagram now, you can go back 2 years on data, I think now, which is like newer. And so that's exciting. So now you can kind of be able to see a little bit more in the history. So super excited about that, because it was always like you had to be, and it was 90-day window before
Yes.
whatever. And you had to be like, hey, what's, making sure you did screenshots or whatever,
Yes,
because you only had
yes.
that 90-day
Oh, it's
window.
awful. In that vein, I will give you one of my, I'll call it one of my lazy repurposing hacks, which is seeing, we now have 2 years. We can go back on Instagram and see what did well. So I'll go back to that post because if it was 2+ years ago, well, especially the further back we go, the more likely it's going to be a still post, right? Not a
Yep.
reel. So I'll just screenshot what that graphic post was and then put it in front of vertical video for a reel, and all I did was screenshot based on my data
Love
what
it.
was a good post, and I've turned it into a reel that way. So that's one of
Yeah.
the less intensive, dare I say, lazier versions of repurposing, but
Yep.
it's always
I
worth a
love it.
try.
Yeah, I love it. And that's the other thing too is we're creating so much content now that it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm always one that I'm like I have had to get over that, because I'm always like, oh, I want to put out the best content. I want to put out the best this, the best that, but really we're having to put out so much, it can't all be the best, right? Like it's all has a purpose. And as long as the purpose behind it is sharing a testimonial, educating about what you do, offering a tip, like it's just, they all compound. And so just know that too, because I do hear that a lot, that it's like, and you probably, experience that too, it's like, um, or you did get a really great idea and you're like, this was awesome. This is like one of my best ideas I had recently. Like, and then you go to more and you're like, well, this isn't as good as that one, and you start to kind of second guess yourself, whatever. So just keep yeah, you just got to be consistent and keep putting that out there.
I think my hack was adding imperfection to my brand pillars, where it's like, well, part of my brand is that it's not super polished and that it's
Yeah,
on the
I love it.
fly, which
I
is
love
just
it.
something to make myself feel better.
Yep. Well, and I think more people resonate with the unpolished stuff too than, and that in now I think that's kind of where it's come to, because people just like realness, and they like so yeah, so I think yeah, just be real, just like if you don't feel like it's your best, that's okay. I sometimes just getting it done and out there is much better than just posting something, or sending something is better than nothing at all.
Yeah. So, kind of in that vein, what do you wish more wedding professionals would talk about in their content?
The biggest thing that I wish is that they would have more variety. So a lot of times that what I see is if they're a DJ, for instance, they're constantly just kind of, here's my services, here's what I do, book me, ready to book me, here's my services, here's what I do. Like it kind of just has this, and so it gets boring. And so that's what I say is we want to keep your content fresh, exciting, like, what are you going to post next? And so if you weave in other stuff, advice, you could chat about a venue that you've worked at. You could chat, like, the options are limitless within the wedding industry, I always say, because it all leads back to what you do, right? So even if you talk about if you're a photographer and you talk about some decor or something or other you saw, well, you shoot weddings. So obviously you're going to see the decor. Like, it doesn't like look weird to your couple, because it goes like, hey, you're like, uh, you obviously know your stuff, or, around the wedding industry in general. And it just becomes, uh, you become like an asset in that couple's view, because you know more than just like, staying in your lane kind of thing. Because I've found that a lot of these couples now, they don't know what they're doing, right? And they need help. And so if they feel like they have somebody that's um, knows a little bit about everything, they feel like they have like somebody in their back pocket that can maybe help them or lead them in a direction, give them a referral, like all of that kind of stuff leads into when they're making that buying decision. And that's always something, this gets into more strategy and sales cycles and things like that. But that's always something that I share with my couples is it's like, hey, I know you don't do this every day. If I can help you, like, I have a vast network. I know a lot of people, like, reach out. I will get you unstuck and help you, figure out, like, and that's just more, I'm not getting paid for that, right? But I'm just, hey, I'm happy to help. And that comes across like, wow, that's really cool. Like, because they don't know if well get stuck or if they won't. But if they do, they know they have, me in their back pocket to text me and be like, hey, can you help? I'm having struggle with florals. Like, what should I do? Like, who should I call? And then I can give them a referral, and then I can connect with, and then what I usually do is I'll share with that florist, like, hey, I just referred so and so to you. And then that builds that collaboration, that connection with them. So then they might run into somebody and then want to refer somebody back to me. So it just creates this whole like openness. And so if you can, and I'm always about community over competition. And so if you can build that into your brand, your sales process, what you do, you will get so many more couples to consider you over your competition, because people just don't approach things that way. They're very like, hey, here's what I offer, you're gonna book my services. So that's a whole nother like probably segment we could do, but that was just to kind of led
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about competition lately because your instinct is almost to get this almost like fear when
Mhm.
competition comes up or somebody new. And the truth is, I mean, there's so much out there. There's so
Mhm.
much out there. And there's also so many weddings we don't want to do. I know we don't always talk about that, but not
Yeah.
every couple that comes your way is a fit. So you need
Hmm.
the competition too.
Yeah.
And especially knowing what other people in your industry do, whether it's because you're booked or because you can't service this person. So now
Mhm.
we're even talking direct competition of being able to refer people and kind of create that synergy can be a really great
Yeah.
thing. I want
Yeah.
to ask you
Exactly.
about what wedding pros can do who are trying to promote 2024 weddings. But before we do that, I want to talk about the content marketing makeover
Yeah.
and the event you have coming up. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so I am hosting a 3-day free challenge. And this is something I've been having in the works for a little while. I've been trying to kind of figure out what would help wedding pros. And so yeah, so it's the content marketing makeover 3-day challenge. The idea behind it is to help you take your content from mundane or non-existent to magnetic in 3 days. And so we're going to chat through several different things. One of them is optimizing your bio, because that is such a big piece that a lot of times, and that's like a one-time thing. I would say always do it like every 6 months to a year, but one-time thing that you don't have to continuously do that will help you get those some more eyeballs on your business. We're also going to talk about how to hook those couples in and call them to act, which is kind of fun, because we want to make sure that they're taking action on your your content that you're putting out there. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm also going to share my trifecta content visibility strategy. Again, I'm a strategy girl, and so you need to have strategy behind it. And so we're going to chat more through that. And so you're going to learn all of these different pieces that you can kind of implement into your business. And then I've got some fun other things kind of planned as well. So yeah, so if you want to join us, we would love to have you. And you can go to carissacruseweddings.com/challenge, and you'll drop it in the show notes too, I'm sure. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's for all wedding pros. And so, yeah, and we'll have just some other fun
Yeah.
bonus and surprises too. So.
Ooh. Is this all taking place within the Facebook group?
So there's a couple different options. You can join us in, so there'll be the Facebook group we've got. There's a Zoom, there'll be a Zoom link as well. I also
Oh,
have a
nice.
VIP. Yep, I also have a VIP option. If you want to upgrade to the VIP option, you can get some exclusive templates that'll have email blog, like some different
Ah,
fun things in
great.
there. Yep, and then you'll get the replays to lifetime access, workbook. Like there's a bunch of different goodies that if you want to upgrade to the VIP side too, but you can just join us on the free side as well.
Great. And how much is the VIP end? Do you have that up
Yep.
yet? Because we're not starting until January 23rd, right? That's the first date.
Yep, January 23rd, 24th, 25th. Yep, you can sign up now and get save your
Great.
seat.
Hmm.
It's $47 just one time for the
Fantastic.
VIP upgrade.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Great. That's really exciting because, guys, day one alone, if you can master your bio, that's going to make everything else you do on Instagram and social media that much easier to be found. So really, at the very least, get into that day one and get your bio up to code on all the
Mm-hmm.
platforms because it's gonna really allow yourself to be seen. You may not even realize you're hiding from people. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm looking at an account anywhere, a restaurant, doesn't have to be weddings, and it doesn't say where they are. And it's like, well, I don't feel like figuring it out. Like, I just want to
Yeah,
know, are you
yeah.
near me or not? And if they don't say it, then I'm just going to move on to the next one.
Yep. Yeah, always have your location in there, like, um, because it has to be like that's the one thing I always say, it has to be easy to work with you, book you, do all of those things. If it's not easy, they're just gonna bounce and
Hmm.
find somebody else it is. If you make it so easy, they're gonna be like, wow, this was like, because wedding planning is already stressful,
Yeah.
that if you make it easy, they're gonna be like, wow, yeah, like I want to work with them. Like, and
Hmm.
so, and that's what I try to do inside my wedding businesses is like, they don't have a lot of hoops to jump through. Like it's personable, boutique-ish, like, you know, they get their proposal, they can sign the proposal, pay the deposit, like all in one fell swoop. Like just having all of those types of systems in place, just it makes it a smooth, streamlined process. And that's what these couples nowadays are looking for. They're not looking for everything already in this world's hard, especially over the last few years. It feels like everything is hard.
Yeah.
So if you can shine through and make something super easy for them, it's just going to really stand out to them. Because and I'm sure you've I don't know if I have an example right now, but you'll, if you could think back, at some time when something was super easy to do, book, you know, purchase, like whatever it was, and it's just refreshing, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, I got a great example. All right.
yeah,
This is when I was back in the day interviewing different jobs. This is actually the job I ended up taking. That I was like, I really want a tedious, non-creative job because when I get home at night, I'm going to build this business, which is now I do wedding marketing. So when I got the interview, they gave me detailed instructions to finding the facility, and it was go past the train tracks, make the first left here. And I loved how detailed it was because I am actually somebody who panics over directions, even with a GPS, because it could tell me I'm here, but now I'm wondering, well, which door is it? There's several offices here. How do I
yeah,
know I'm at the right one? So getting something down to the detail of our door is next to the such and such tree,
mhm,
I loved because it took care of every anxiety I had and made it easy for me.
yeah,
So little details like that, little things you can do to make it easy. And a wedding scope, the first vendor I ever booked never gave me a contract and took advantage of me. And that was a really negative experience. So assume
Yeah.
your couple knows nothing. Not everybody has hired vendors before. I'd never hired
Yep.
anyone in my life before, to
Yeah.
do anything for me. So
Yep.
I didn't even know what I was missing. So being that person who can be trusted, like you said, is gonna really benefit you long term, because I see so often with just my peers of when one of them goes to a wedding and starts to see how much their friend trusts the photographer, the DJ, the planner, whoever it is, they all end up working with them too. It's a
Mhm.
really cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. It's one of those things we don't really think about because we're so focused on just booking, and on to the next sale and like, but all of those little pieces, if we can get those plugged into your business, they will definitely help make the sale easier and make it easier for them to book you and faster too. Like
Mhm.
if there's not a lot of hurdles, then you know they can easily like sign the contract, pay the deposit all in one fell swoop. Like it just
Yeah,
makes.
let me pay online. That makes it
You're
easy.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
more likely to
exactly.
get the money today than if I have to drop off a check.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. Exactly. Yep.
Now, so that I'm going to leave in the show notes so people can sign up by January 23rd. But I wanted to leave what I thought the juiciest question was for last. And a lot of
Yeah.
people are asking me that they have 2024 dates they want to book. What can people do with their content, whether, that's anywhere, whether you think it's blogs, emails, etc. What can they do to try and fill those gaps?
So the biggest thing is I would say you need to be consistent. You need to be, and I know the word consistent, like it's just like, oh, like I
Yeah.
wish there was another word, like, but it does come down to consistency and it does come down to strategy. So if you have a consistent strategy in place, it's going to help you because your couples are going to be vetting you on social media. They're going to be vetting you on your website. They're going to be vetting you um, through some to other type of platform. So I usually say they're looking at least two different pieces. So whether that's your website and Instagram or your website and TikTok or
Mhm.
your Pinterest and,
I think mostly the website's
Instagram.
definitely one of them, right? Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Everybody assumes that you're going to have a website. And the other thing is too, is if you have your streamline, your process, all of that type of stuff, you show up as professional, you show up as a legitimate business. And people are so used to having, or these, our ideal couples now are so used because they grew up with the internet, they grew up with everything that they're used to making, having, you know, book online, book, purchase
Mhm.
online, like all of those types of features. So if you kind of have that archaic type, some of those archaic systems, they're going to be like, are they here to stay? Like, wow, are
Yeah,
they not
yeah.
up with the times, kind of thing. And so that's really that other piece that comes in as they do that. But kind of back to your question, the other thing that I really love to do with my content is try, especially if you're trying to um, get more reach and be able to get more eyeballs on your business, is try to collaborate within your
Mhm.
content somehow. So so um do a vendors like a vendor spotlight of like maybe of some vendors you love to work with or some venues in your area. Tag those venues like in your social media posts. You can also then within your email like repurpose that in and give some love back to those vendors, because then if they're seeing like, hey, you're giving them some love, they're like, hey, they want to reciprocate a lot of times, right? So that helps kind of create some more traction, especially when you're because the uh being within the year of, we
Yeah.
kind of think like, oh, it's going to be harder to book because, and so that's kind of another way if you can kind of put a little more oomph into your referrals, that will kind
Yes.
of help maybe
Mhm.
fill some of those extra dates because of, for this year or whatever. Because sometimes it comes down to, people do have dates booked. And so then they can be like, hey, check out this person though, or whatever. Like they're more
Right,
apt to
letting
give
your
some
peer
referrals.
group know. For example, let's say, an easy to remember weekend. If you know you have Labor Day or even Memorial Day that soon open, maybe start letting some people know so when they get those referrals, they know right off the bat, like, oh, so and so mentioned they're available. I'm not, so let me refer it. I
Mhm,
also love what you said about the venues, tagging the venues on Instagram. Now we have the collaborator post, so
mhm,
sometimes the venue will accept that. And I also wanted to share that if you're not a venue, I find that using weddings that my clients have done, the clients who aren't venues, doing Pinterest boards for, their work at such and such venue helps with their local search too, because
mhm,
Pinterest is so broad for just worldwide wedding planning that I'll try
mhm,
to use the venue so this way I'm capturing people interested in the venue, which typically people are booking first, not always.
mhm.
But so let's, like you said, lean into those venues since hopefully the 2024 couples are going to start at the venue, then go to you. So, how
Mhm.
can we make those connections stronger?
Yep, exactly. And that's one of the things I think over the last few years too, kind of the collaboration or the referral between vendors, the making those connections or keeping those connections fresh, like have really kind of gone downhill. And so
Mhm.
we just aren't taking as much time to do that. So if you kind of start doing that and just reaching out and being like, hey, maybe it's just a coffee chat, or maybe it's
Mhm.
it's not necessarily like, hey, will you refer me? You want to build that connection with them and say, like,
Yeah.
so that is, something I definitely recommend. I had a wedding pro that reached out to me the other day, like they're stuck and like, hey, what should I do? And I was like, and that was one of and she's been in the industry for a little while. And I was like, hey, like, have you reached out to some vendors, and like tried to just connect with them and that, and she was like, no. And so then she reached out and she messaged me and she was like, I reached out, everybody was super excited to chat with me and like whatever. And yeah. So I think sometimes we feel like, oh, we might get rejected, and it's okay, you might. And
Mhm.
I know that feeling, like I'm
Oh, yeah.
but just like you got to push through and just like, and you'll get some wins then, and then it'll give you some excitement and to be able to, keep doing that same strategy. And then, what it is once you find something that works, this is also what happens is once you find something that works, we usually stop it. Right. So if you do that strategy and you kind of reach out, build some connections, and then you kind of put it on your calendar to do it again at a certain
Right.
date and time so that you don't forget, because that's really where our strategy comes in is um, we think we have to keep doing something new, and I say this, and uh, really, marketing should be boring. And I say that because it doesn't need to be new every time. Once it becomes this, thing that we need to constantly do. And we're doing a lot of trial and error, especially in the beginnings of our business, trying to figure out what works, but we never usually go back to what did work and do more of what works. So you want to do more of what works, less of what doesn't. And the part of that is it just becomes boring. And so we think we need to
Yeah.
spice it up, but really the boring is what leads to the consistency, which leads to, because you're not having to recreate and do, what do I do now? So
Fantastic. I think that's a great place to kind of leave it because that's such tangible advice and we can overcomplicate things. And that keeps it really simple to say, just do more of what works. Just
yep,
do more
exactly.
of what works. So, January 23rd, people can join you at the Content Marketing Makeover. Where else can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me online, CarissaKruseWeddings.com, or on Instagram, TikTok at Carissa Kruse Weddings as well.
Great, and I'll have that all linked in the show notes because it's Carissa with a C and Cruzy with a K. So I'll make
Yep.
sure we get it all spelled out for you because I don't want anyone to miss any of this. It's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe you'll see me in Carissa's group sometime because I'm
Yep.
always seeing the great wisdom she's dropping in there. Thanks so much, Carissa.
Thanks. I appreciate it. This is fun.
Guys, I just want to close things out here to say a big thank you to Carissa for all the value she shared. I hope to see you in her content marketing makeover challenge. And if you want to see more from Carissa and I, we did an engage to engagement workshop. It's available on our websites for just $37. I'll link it in the show notes. And it's where Carissa shows all of her content strategies and I show my online social media engagement strategies. So it gives you the kind of full picture of how you can do your own marketing. So I want to make sure you check that out. Guys, what a great first interview for the 2024 year. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing if you're new or if you're a repeat listener and haven't reviewed us yet. It really helps me out. Well, it helps me out. I'm going to tell you. They say it helps you out because it helps, Apple and Spotify and whatnot push out your podcast. But let me tell you, it helps me as a person because I go, oh my gosh, someone's listening and they think good things and it helps me. Okay, it just helps me. Thanks, guys, and I will be back next Wedding Wednesday.